Because you just think the whole thing just is
Going to zero?
Going to zero and it's fake?
Bitcoin itself is a hyped up fraud. It's a pet rocket.
You're back to that?
Yeah,
Really?
Of course, yeah.
Well, since I think it's a highly speculative asset with a zero value, I don't think it's based on any fundamentals. I mean, looking at macro fundamentals and somehow that's driving things, I think it's kind of a fool's game, really.
But I just think if you said, Fred, are we going to get to $1 million within a decade? I'd say probably, probably. And if you believe that, that's enough. We're going to go 50 times higher in Bitcoin over the next, 15, 20 years. I do.
We're going to pull up the charts that you posted showing Bitcoin as a power law. So break that down for us. Talk us through that.
Okay, so this chart was discovered by an astrophysicist named Giovanni. And when you're looking at things in astrophysical time frames, you need to look at things that are very small or very small, and then things that are very big, like the distance of the size of the Milky Way, right? So you tend to look at things on a logarithmic scale. The way of representing relationships in this so-called log space is very natural for physicists. And so it's not crazy that a physicist would have first seen this relationship. So if you look at that graph and you look at the price of Bitcoin in the logarithm of the price of Bitcoin, and you look at it in relationship to the logarithm of the time elapsed since the Genesis block, you will see that it's it sort of wobbles around a straight line right from the very first year of Bitcoin to now. Because that straight line is in log space, right? That means that the actual price of Bitcoin is roughly time to the power 6, okay? Now, you would sort of say, well, that's exponential. It's not exponential. What it is it's a polynomial, right? It's a 6th power. So you know what a parabola is. Parabola is like x squared, right? A cube is even more faster. The cubic is even more fast than a parabola. It's x to the cube. Well, this is x to the power 6. And that's roughly how much Bitcoin price goes up in time. Let me give you an example of what that means. We've been in Bitcoin. Bitcoin has existed for 15 years now. Where will Bitcoin price be if the same pattern continues in another 15 years? It'll be 2 to the power 6, the current price, which is 64 times as high as it is right now, right? So that's what a power law says, that if you double the amount of time, you get 2 to the power 6 higher in price. So 64 times higher in price. Now, that seems crazy, but that's exactly what Bitcoin has been doing over the last 15 years. I mean, exactly. You're going from 70,000 to 4.5 million in 15 years. Now, again, you could sort of say, well, that sounds crazy. Why is it going so much? Well, it's not totally crazy. I mean, the price of Apple computer has gone up 100 times since they released the iPhone. That was one of my biggest mistakes, I think, was I bought shares of Apple when they released the Apple iPhone. I sold them 3 years later at the price doubled, right? Now, had I held them, I would have made 50 times more money than I had by selling them 3 years later, right? So you tend to underestimate how much these things can go up, right? And I do think we're going to go 50 times higher in Bitcoin over the next, 15, 20 years. I do. And that might be it. That might be more or less it. It may go up a little bit more than that, but I do feel like that this opportunity right now, over the next, let's call it next 5-10 years, is exceptionally good in Bitcoin. Probably on a risk-reward basis, the best it's ever been, right? Because we've now got this ETF. It's all a question just of adoption now. The mechanism, everything is just ready to go. We don't have to invent new things. We don't have to invent new wallets or, convince some Middle East nation or anything. It's just We just have to get normal Wall Street people to go click on iBit in their, and their Charles Schwab account. It's all there ready for them to buy. So we've never had it this easy, and the adoption can really happen right now at record speeds. And that's what we're seeing right now. And so it would not at all surprise me that the next year is just going to be a banger year for Bitcoin,